Today we have with us Mr. Anand Iyengar, Business Head, CV Passenger. Anand is a young leader who believes in action more than words. He believes in leading by example and has his ears to the ground. Anand is someone who connects with one and all, breaking boundaries and building bridges. He believes in empowerment and encourages his team to take risks. He has been recognized as one of the top iTeach facilitators on topics related to grooming managers, especially young managers. Now, without wasting any further time, let's welcome Anand to Leadership 101 and let's hear it from him. So what does embracing diversity mean to you?
Charu, for me, diversity is about the fact that each person is unique and everyone brings his or her own perspective to the table. We need to recognize this difference of opinion, different standpoint. The leadership challenge is to integrate this difference to a common cause and help for the way forward for the organization. And this is true for the family too.
So taking forward from, identifying unique perspectives and everything that you just said about diversity, how do you foster a culture of empathy and accountability in that?
That's a very interesting point, Charu. Empathy starts with listening. It's not just about listening per se. It's about active listening, where you actually pick up a non-verbal clues, things that are not being spoken, feeling for what emotions the other person is putting in what he or she is speaking. That's what listening starts with. Accountability is something which is paramount for a business result and any task that you take on. It's a fine balancing act for any leader to go with both empathy as well as accountability. The fact lies in being transparent. I believe in being transparent, taking things upfront. Set your perspectives right, set your expectations right, clear at the forefront to your team or members of your team, and then give them a feeling that you are there backing them up. So that gives a lot of feeling of showing empathy to them. At the same time, and demanding a perspective of accountability. That's how we need to move forward.
Okay. So what would be the 3 tips that you would give to your, managers to develop teams for the future?
The world is changing. We have seen in the last at least 2 decades or so, a rapid digitization, IT coming in, world is changing. Therefore, what was supposed to be a great skill a decade ago may not be of a wanted skill today, and something else is going to emerge in the next 1 or 2 decades. We are living through a generation of breakthrough disruptions. And therefore, the first and foremost advice that I would give you, not just to anyone, to myself also, is to keep constantly upskilling. Number 1. Number 2, more and more we are going to deal with Gen Zs. Gen Zs of a different breed. And therefore, you need to give them a feeling of trust, feeling of empowerment. Remember, a leader can grow as much as the team grows. And therefore, you need to build a team, and that starts with the trust. The third thing, which is not an advice, that's inevitable, is sustainability. Why sustainability? The more and more technology is coming in, more and more disruptions coming in, there is one thing which is not coming down is on the greenhouse emissions, pollution, and so on and so forth. And therefore, anything that you do has to have a tinge of sustainability, element of sustainability. So these are the 3 things which I think the next gen leaders should focus upon.
So how do you foster a culture of empathy and accountability?
Really, it's about a balancing act. Empathy starts with listening. When I say listening, it's not just hearing what is being spoken. It's an active listening where you pick up the non-verbal cues, feel for the emotions of the other person. At the same time, accountability ensures the quality and effectiveness of what we do. So as a leader, you got to balance between these 2. At the same time, I believe in being very transparent and setting the objectives very clear upfront to the team. And therefore, you give an element of trust to the team that I'm there for you to go ahead and do whatever you want. At the same time, demanding the deliverables of quality and the timelines.
So, Anand, you've actually been recognized as an I-Teach mentor, for the young generation of the company. So, what are your 3 tips to your young managers for developing teams for the future?
Very interesting, Charu. And IT is something that I've been very fondly associated with. It helped me evolve as a good facilitator. I first got myself trained, then I became a facilitator, and I really enjoyed that stint. Having said that, we are living in a world which is full of disruptions and continuous change. And therefore, it's not just for any young managers, it's even for me. You have to keep upskilling yourself, because what was a technology of breakthrough 2 decades back no longer exists. And what's a technology disruption today is not going to be there. Maybe something else is going to take over in a decade time, or maybe lesser than that. And therefore, you have to constantly upskill yourself. That's number one. Number two that I would like to say is adapt or embrace the change. We should not fear, because as we move forward in a world which is ambiguous, disruptive, changing technology, change is going to be the constant, and therefore you adapt to the change, embrace the change. You should not fear that. A third most important thing for a manager, which I truly believe in, it's not that you are winning, it's the team which you are leading, the team that's working with you is winning. Only when they win that you can win, and therefore invest your time, energy to get a winning team along with you.
What are the 3 key disruptors that you think are going to define the Tata Motors future going ahead?
Charul, as I was mentioning, we are living in a world of constant change, disruptions. And therefore, what I can see today as the 3 change which is going to impact over maybe a decade or so. The first and foremost is alternate fuel technology. We are an automobile company, and something very related to automobile is going to impact us. The world is moving towards an alternate fuels, electrification, LNG, hydrogen powered. So this is one disruption, that is alternate fuel technology is one. 2, digitization has already evolved into certain forms. The real cherry in the cake is now in the form of AI. AI is doing a world of wonders in terms of predicting the consumer behavior, fault finding in your backend, at the backend, horizontal deployment of your initiatives, driving innovations. AI is there all around us. That's the second important disruption that's happening, and we should be aware of, conscious about. The third is all about sustainability. The more innovations, the more technology, you are getting the need for a cleaner, a sustainable future for our generations to come. And therefore, sustainability is one of the key pillar for any business, and so it's true for Tata Motors too.
So tell us, a moment about your leadership, which is really exciting for you. And why is it so special for you? What was it that made that moment very special for you?
There are many very fond instances in my career in Tata Motors. That's the beauty of this organization. This organization provides a plethora of opportunities for you to demonstrate your leadership. Since you asked one, so the one that's very recent
Your
is
favorite.
and something which is very recent that I can talk about is the journey of turnaround that we had just about began in the CV passenger business. From the moment we were what we were, and constant evaluation, be it in buses or in Winger, the way Magic is taking off on a different plan. So all this and the kind of team that we are fostering around, be it the plant, ERC or product or the PD purchase, coming together, working for a common cause. For me, a defining moment is all of us are aligned with one common goal, which is grow this business to its limit, which is sky high. And that is one defining and turning moment as far as leadership is concerned.
How do you stay motivated and creative under pressure? I mean, it's tremendous at that level, so it's a lot that people would want to know about.
Thank you. there are two pillars of my motivation as a person. One is the backing that I have from my family. They are the fundamental block for me to stay focused and motivated. Second, I'm very spiritual. That gives a lot of balancing act even under pressure. So I stay calm under pressure because of sense of spirituality has ingrained a balancing act into me as a person. Having said that, it's all about whenever you are in a crisis situation where there is a pressure, you should not get sucked into that situation. What you need to do is this: step back,
Mhm.
calm down a bit, think of a bigger picture, and the beauty lies in working out all possible options that may emerge to come out of the situation. The best thing that you can do to your team in a crisis situation or pressure situation is to give them the options. And that's the spark that the team needs. And that's where your creative mind works to get you this. And that's how I do it.
Any advice that you would go back in time and give your younger self or a Gen Z millennial who's joining the company today? So what would that be?
To me, if I had to go back and to Gen Z, which I'm already picking it up, to me is don't be afraid to speak up. And that's something I learned it from Gen Z. Today's Gen Zs are not afraid to speaking up. That's something that I wish I were like this about 2 decades back. But then that's a constant learning. And for today's Gen Z, that's the only thing. Living in a world of disruptions, keep learning, and keep learning.
So if you could have dinner, with some historical figure, who would that be and why?
The one and only Mr. J.R.D. Tata.
Okay.
Someone I always got inspired even looking at his photograph. Here is a businessman whom you can pick up every aspect of life, be it risk-taking. Imagine he started an airline everyone knows, but he was the first one to fly from Karachi to Mumbai. Imagine taking a risk being a businessman to fly it, setting up business with empathy, working for the people, business with a purpose, expanding the business for the common good. That's something is very, very inspiring. If at all, thanks Charu for kindling that interest in me to answer this question. If at all I get a chance in the time machine to go back to have a dinner with a figure, that must be one and only Mr. J.R.D. Tata.
At times we feel, Back to the Future should have been true as a film.
Absolutely true. And there would have been how good it would be to go back and have a dinner and take some few tips from him.
So what would your message to everyone be as a dream for this organization?
Organization is nothing but collection of people working for a common objective. Please build a team, build a diverse team, cohesive team that would work for one organizational dream. Build a team. That's the essence of it.
One team, one vision.
Absolutely. You summed it up beautifully.
Thank you. So, how do you balance the need to learn from others, while you are challenged to also retain your own unique leadership style? Something overpass the other, or it's like, achieved in your head that how do I do it?
One thing that I have over the last 26 years of my professional life been practicing is to be authentic. That is to be myself wherever I am. At the same time, I'm realizing that, not now, over the last 5-7 years, I'm realizing that world is changing, especially Gen Z. First was millennials, now Gen Z. The way of thinking is changing. And therefore, if I have to stay relevant for the team, for the organization, I need to constantly keep updating on how the team, our colleagues are, how your team members are. I give an practical example. I have formed a WhatsApp group with those PGSTs of this batch.
Wow.
And I constantly interact. In the last 6 months, I have interacted 4 times with them. Only with those people. Why? I want to pick their mind as to in what direction they are. And they are giving you a perspective which most of us would not have thought about.
Mm-hmm.
Because They are tuned to think in a different manner. And therefore, today my mentors are my PGSTs of this batch, where I pick their mind and try to figure out as to what is going through in today's youngster's mind. And that's where I'm constantly learning. And therefore, while I'm very firm and authentic in what I have been, I'm marrying my current authenticity with relevance for today. And that's one example that I gave.
Any one example that you want to share, what you picked up as an insight from them?
They told me that you are not using digital for training and development.
Okay.
And I said, why? We have this so much training. He says, sir, it is one way. And that's how we thought that we should have a digital mode of training, which is a two-way communication. It looks very simple.
Yeah.
But they picked it up beautifully and explained to me. And that's we implemented immediately.
Okay. So the interactions are actually helping and deliver to actions.
Absolutely.
So true. What habits or routines actually help you stay productive and focused?
I believe in maintaining good health and physique. I stay invested on that. I am a very avid badminton player. I am a swimmer.
Okay.
I play cricket. I play carom board, chess. I read a lot of books. I am very spiritual. I do a lot of service in the temples whenever, and I don't do it alone. I do it with my family. Because that family gives a lot of bonding to such things. So these are things that help me to stay mentally active, and this acts as a stress relief for me. And that's how I keep myself healthy. I keep myself active, and at the end of the day, I disconnect myself from what's going around, and I start reflecting upon to myself so that you can get recharged for the next day.
It's a tough task. A lot of us try, but we all end up failing out at it.
See, I tell you, Charu, the best way that you can do good thing to yourself is to get to your bed without having grudge on anyone. And you will have a very good night's sleep. And
True.
The next day morning when you get up, it will be a new beginning, it will be fresh, and you will be raring to go into this.
It's true. Absolutely. How do you prioritize your goals and, stay focused in spite of so many distractions in today's world?
As you grow up the corporate ladder, you will be bombarded with issues, emails, claring for attention, seeking for decisions, upward delegations.
Do you?
It's quite natural for any leader as he grows up. I mean, easiest thing is to bounce it up. So monkeys on your shoulder. But what differentiates a leader from just a leader and an effective leader is prioritizing what you will act, what you will delegate, what you will direct, and what you will not act at all. So when I start my day, I already have these things. When 8:45 when I enter my office, I already have this clarity in mind. My task for today is this, which I need to act. And these are things that I will not act. So anything that comes in between, depending on urgent and important, that's you must have seen a matrix. That's something it constantly keeps running in my mind. I either delegate or I just give direction as to how it's to be done. But remember, as you grow up, you should learn how not to do certain things and be firm and not to do certain things. That's something that I have evolved over the last 2 to 3 years. And I must thank Tata Motors for this, because they had given me a coach who actually picked it up about 2 years from now 2 years before. When I had an interaction, he picked it up in me. Anand, please stay firm on saying no, in not doing certain things. And it was very difficult for me in the first 6 months. And he was constantly nudging in every session that I have been able to. So that has helped me, because I was always focused on what I want to do. learning to say no on what I should not do is something that you should evolve, and I evolved. And that's why I'm giving this an example.
But that's so true. It's important to know what not to do. While it's important to know what to delegate, it's equally important to know what
Because
not to.
if you're a very involved leader, so what happens? You try to be there everywhere. You try to be a part of every action. And I'm an action-oriented person. So I used to jump into everything. But when you evolve as a leader, it's not that you have to do. You have to make your team to do, and they should be feeling that they are doing it themselves rather than you being there. The best thing that a leader can do to the organization is making yourself redundant. Redundancy is not just a literal redundancy. Your team is able to do and accomplish the task, overcome the challenges, work together and come out with an options, possible solutions without you being there. That's the best thing that a leader can create for an organization. And that's what is a winning team, Charu.
So can you share with us a pivotal moment that actually shaped your leadership approach?
I can give two instances. One, when I was young, ambitious, growing leader. About 14 years back, one day my boss walked into the cubicle that I was sitting way back in World Trade Center. And that's the time when you were also sitting on the other side on the cubicle. He said, he asked me, Anand, there is a project idea, concept, which we need to convince MD. I'm throwing up the challenge to you. If you manage to convince the MD of the organization, you have made it. And if you're not, possibly you should accept that you failed. And I took up the challenge. It was for a week, I kept on preparing. The night before the presentation, he walked up to me and said, where is that presentation? I prepared 8 slides, burning the midnight oil. He laughed and said, Anand, you have only 5 minutes to present and 1 slide only. Out of which 3 minutes for presentation, 2 minutes for question. MD doesn't have time beyond 5 minutes for this. So I didn't know what to do. At the same time, he just, whatever I had prepared in the 8, he tried to concise and drew it in the board, and I sat the whole night and converted it into a single slide. Next day morning, went and presented. At the end of 3rd minute, MD said, okay, let's go ahead. So it gave me 2 important leadership roles. One is throwing up the challenge to your team as a leader. He had the ability, he had the confidence in my ability. Number 1. Number 2, taking risk. He threw up the challenge. If you fail, you have it. So I was ready to take risk. So both the things shaped up 14 years back, and that was a first turning moment. The second one recently, when 2 years back, an executive director of Tata Motors CV called up and said, we are moving you into trucks, and it's in a very challenging time. You need to lead from the front to make the change happen. And that was a high stakes moment for both for the organization, for me as a leader. And in both the things, one underlying fact which I learned, which I imbibed, and I want to give it as a tip, as an advice to the next gen leaders, is don't be afraid of taking risks. You have the capability and you have the conviction. The one thing that stops you from taking the jump is afraid of taking risk. Just don't be afraid of taking risk. Go for it.
So I guess you learned it back then and you're actually reinforcing it through the Gen Z today.
Absolutely. That's what I'm advising them. And Gen Z, by say, see, the avenues for knowledge, sharing of information, imbibing the learnings is far greater today because of social media. There are so much of thing available, or good stuff available in the social media. There is a lot of buzz around social media. I heard that they are going to restrict use of social media and below certain age in certain countries. Some debates are going on. At the same time, social media is buzz with. Yesterday, I was going for a leadership. I was looking at what kind of tie to wear with this broom sword. actually it threw me some 8 options. So I didn't have to go and check. A lot of good stuffs are available. Lot of innovations are available, which will kindle the thought process and creativity in young children available. And therefore, what I'm trying to say is that don't be afraid of taking risk. If you have the conviction, just go for it.
True. So, what do you feel? We have a lot of new joinees coming into the organization. We also have a lot of people who take lateral movements into the organization. What is it that you advise to the people who move into the organization and your existing employees who actually, welcome these lateral movements?
If I have to give you an anecdote, Charu, it's like you're welcoming somebody into your family. Supposing there is a marriage in your family and a girl walks into your family, she integrates into your family. The first and foremost challenge is not to the person who is coming inside your family. It's the members of the family who have to adapt, because you are actually welcoming someone into the family. It's similar situation. Someone who is joining new, I would appeal to the middle managers or the people leaders to take that extra mile to make it as comfortable as possible for those new joinees. Remember, they are coming from a different culture, they are coming from a different background, and they are coming with a lot of expectation and aspiration from this organization. And if they have to succeed, and only if they succeed, you will succeed as a manager, you got to make it far more comfortable so that they get assimilated into our culture faster. The faster they get assimilated, it's better for you as a leader. And therefore, please take out your time to get them integrated into our way of working, our process, and our culture. That one piece of advice. And for those new joinees who are coming with a lot of expectations, this is an organization that welcomes and accepts different viewpoints. Diversity and inclusive is a basic pillar of this organization. And please don't be afraid to speak up. For that moment, you may get a backlash. You may have fear that you may get a backlash. It doesn't matter. What you stand up and speak stays counted. Someone is noticing you. Someone is observing your courage. Someone is observing your strength to stand up and speak for the right cause, be it for the customer, be it for a channel partner, be it for the product or anything around. Just speak up. There are enough leaders in this organization to take note and take care.
So one last question before we get on to the rapid fire. What's Anand's passion at work?
Very interesting, Charu. I have grown over the last 2.5 decades only because of customers. For me, it's the customer, and customer, everything. I think, breathe, drink customers. Our existence, I believe, is because there is someone in the market who's placing a faith, trust on you as an organization, as you as a brand, and buying and using a product. Remember, we are in the business of commercial vehicles, and that's a breadwinner for the customer. I spoke about active listening some time ago. It's not just restricted to my team or within the organization. It's about active listening with the customers too. What do they express? What do they not say? How do we pick up what's going through their mind? And staying with a customer throughout his life cycle. It's not just going and having a cup of tea or a dinner with a customer and felicitating a customer for being very strong. No. It's about picking up the call at 2 o'clock in the night when the vehicle breaks down and being able to put it back on road. Even if you're not, being with him during the difficult time. That's what customer centricity is all about. And that's what the customer expects from us. That you be with him at good times, bad times, difficult times. And to me, the real passion is working for such customers and making them delighted with the experience in Tata Motors. That's what it is.
Thank you for that. On that note, let's step into our rapid fire section.
And ready.
Okay. Your favorite sporting icon.
Sachin Tendulkar,
A movie that you can watch many a times.
the one and only Sridevi is English.
I also can watch it many a times.
Absolutely.
How many languages can you speak?
3,
Which?
English, Hindi, of course, my mother tongue Tamil.
Okay. Your favorite weekend getaway?
Doing service in the temples.
Okay. If you had not been in this profession, what profession would you have been in?
I'm very good in teaching and I love teaching, so I would have been a teacher.
3 traits that you would like to pick up from Gen Z?
Speaking up, risk taking, I know what is right for me.
What is it that one advice that you would give to the future leaders?
Take risk.
The superpower that you would have wanted.
Oh, that's very interesting, Charu. There are many, but the one that I will pick up is flying into a time zone.
Okay. Who would you meet?
That's a secret.
Okay. As a kid, were you mischievous, talkative, mysterious, or all of these?
Very, very talkative.
Your go-to comfort food?
Poha,
Things that you cannot leave home without.
wallet,
Music that you would unwind to.
Ilayaraja classicals.
Your all-time favorite book.
Who Moved My Cheese?
And what?
Have you read the book?
Yes, I have.
And I recommend this to many people because it is relevant. It was relevant a decade back. It's relevant today and it will be relevant probably 2 decades from now, 3 decades from now.
It's a forever book, I think. Yeah. So what would your autobiography be called?
The Man, the Mission.
That's some title. And I think that would go really well, having heard you and known you for all this while.
Thank you.
So thanks, Anand. It was really a pleasure to have you on Leadership 101. It was lovely to hear your views, though I've known you for a very long time, but I think, all of it came together, and knowing you as a person, just not for myself, but for all our audiences, it was really lovely to hear you.
The pleasure is mine. It was wonderful to be here, a part of this show.